I am a Liverpudlian, and I come from the Spion Cup. I love to sing, I love to shout, I get thrown out quite a lot. We support the team that's dressed in red. It's a team that you all know. It's a team that we call Liverpool, and to glory we will go. We've won the league.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Plastic Scousers podcast September review. My name's Matt Simpson, and this is my co-host, a man who has had a fascinating story about the time he ended up tied to a lamppost in Halifax, dressed as a slutty nun. It's Owen Collins.
Yes, and let me tell you, Matt, that's a terrible habit to get into.
Hey.
Yeah, that's all I got on that one.
Epic, well done.
Well, there is a fascinating story, but it is a story for another time, I'm afraid, Matt. It's a story for another time.
As the season gets into full flow, myself and Owen will be chewing the fat and sweating the small stuff on all things LFC for the month of September. We'll be discussing all the games, goals and talking points, with our usual brand of insight and irreverence, dissecting a busy month for Mr. Klopp and the lads.
And as well as that, in a change to the usual formula, I challenge Matt's LFC knowledge with another devilish quiz, and we continue to discuss our time spent documenting Liverpool's training ground in another completely normal, totally average day at Melwood.
Indeed, but before all that, let's get straight into the football, starting with a game away at Leicester City.
Yeah, not an easy game.
Not in the slightest. We've not exactly had a great record. I think did we win there last year? I think we did.
We did in the league, but not in the cup.
That's right, yeah. It was a 3-2 victory in the league and a 2-0 defeat in the cup. I think Henderson scored the winner, if I'm right.
I think you're right. It was about 4 days between the two games, wasn't there? So.
Oh, that's right, yes. Sort of October 2017? God, that's a long time ago now.
I think it might have even been. I think it was this month last year.
Wow.
Because as we'll come to later, in a weird turn of events, we've had an almost identical thing. But yeah, I mean, like we say, not an easy game. It sort of looks like a tough. It looks like an easier game than it is because we've had such a sort of tough opening round of fixtures.
Have we?
I mean, well, in this month, I mean.
Oh.
This sort of. Like, with Chelsea and with Spurs and with Man City on the horizon, this Leicester one feels like, probably one of the easier games we'll have in September. But actually, taken in isolation, it's a tricky tie. Yeah,
I mean, Leicester are a top 10 side, winning the league a couple of years ago, as we know. It was very much a case of, we knew that we were in for a bit of a fight, and the game sort of proved that way, really.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy performance to watch or presumably to play in. We were kind of behind, not obviously in terms of a score, but sort of for a lot of the first half we were on the back foot.
Yeah, which makes the whole first half slightly more confusing because, despite being on the back foot for a lot of the first half, we'd only made one change in the game, by the way, considering we'd played all 3 games with the same 11 up to this point. It was our first change at all, which saw Naby Keita rested for Jordan Henderson's return, just to reunite the midfield at the start of the Champions League final. Yeah, it was, as you say, it was a weird kind of first half because we weren't at our best, but we were creating chances, and it was the man who was very much in form at the start of the season who gave us the lead after 10 minutes in Sadio Mane.
Yeah, against the run of play, as we say, but again, I mean, all the work came from, well, not all the work, but so much of that goal is down to one man, and that's Andy Robertson, who is, I don't think he's put a foot wrong all season at this point, would you say?
I don't know, certainly not.
I mean, obviously the whole team has been fairly flawless in terms of actual results. I think Robbo has just been. I think you have to. I can't remember the last time Andy Robertson had a bad game for Liverpool.
No, I don't think I can. Since
he made his debut. And obviously he was out of the side for a while after that debut, while Alberto Moreno had a surprisingly good run of form. But since Robbo came in sort of around the turn of the year, I guess, just maybe before Christmas, yeah, he has been near flawless in every game. And again, fantastic cross this time, sort of low in from the left. Sadio Mane doesn't look like he's controlled it that well. Do you know what I mean? There's an element of chance there. It sort of looked to me like it bounced off his shin, but he manages to get it back under control again and just sort of,
lashes it home. Yeah,
lashes it home from not too far out.
No, and we take the lead, and I mean, Sadio had a really good start to the season actually. Up to this point, he scored in. Seemed to be with Salah still getting back to full fitness, Firmino sort of blowing hot and cold, like he sort of seems to be warming up into the season. Sadio Mane is certainly the most standout of the front three thus far, I think.
Well, he's been really good in the early season, in the last 2 seasons. I think last year, until that sending off against Man City, he was, one of our best players before Salah really kind of got flowing. And in his first season, he was off the mark straight away. He's a real awesome player, isn't he?
Yeah, seemingly so. I mean, whether or not he goes off the boil or struggles around Christmas time, as you mentioned, he has had extenuating circumstances, both with injury, with sendings off, and also the Africa Cup of Nations a couple of years ago, which didn't, curtail that somewhat.
Yeah, thankfully that's because that should be this season again now, shouldn't it? But it's
in the summer, right?
Yeah, it's been put back to the summer, so it fits in with all the other tournaments, which I'm in 2 minds about, to be honest. Don't want to get too distracted too early on because we got a few games to talk about. But I did like the sort of weird like the idiosyncrasy of the fact it was just played in the middle of January.
It was a unique tournament, certainly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it did seem to give it a special status that things like the Copa America and the Asia Cup don't really have. I
certainly seem more important to the English fans anyway.
Yeah, and I think that is just because it's so noticeable because it's slap bang in the middle of the season, and a lot of teams, especially in Premier League, will lose players to it.
No, you are right, but luckily it isn't, which means you don't lose Mane, Salah, and the rest. Is there anyone else we lose?
Keita, yeah, unless Matip comes out of international retirement.
Yeah, that sort of complicated situation sorts itself out.
Interesting fact, actually. I think now that we're into September and we're are we past the international break yet?
No, that's later in the month.
No, sorry, that's coming up, isn't it? Okay, I'll save that fact for after the international break then, because it's a good fact.
Excellent, let's do that.
Well, it's a half decent fact.
Don't build it up too much, eh?
No, I won't.
So we get through the first half, and actually it is, as we said, Leicester looking more likely to sort of equalise. But we go in at half-time 2-0 up, thanks to a corner headed in by Firmino. Yeah,
good header as well.
Yeah, great header, great ball in. Frees himself up, gets near the front post, and it's in.
And again, a fantastic assist from Mr. James Milner, who, probably, we've seen 2 goals at this point from 2 of our best goal scorers and 2 assists from probably 2 of our best assist makers.
Almost unarguably so, yeah.
I mean, I think the only argument would be put Alexander-Arnold in ahead of Robertson, but
no, I wouldn't.
I think no,
not from the start they've had anyway.
No, from this season certainly, Robbo and Milner are the ones to be.
So we get to the second half, and if anything, Leicester actually sort of improve and get better. We are really under the cosh.
Yeah, we are definitely sort of holding on, I think it's fair to say, in a way that we've also seen in kind of, other games this season, really. It's, although it's only been the 4th game of the season, but it's becoming quite a familiar pattern, isn't it? And take a lead and then just sort of slowly, give away that control, give away that dominance, let it slip away from you. And before you know it, you've got a sort of we're not exactly siege happening, but we are completely on the back foot. We've given away complete control of the game, and we're just playing kind of hold tight and don't let anything past kind of football.
Yeah, and I mean, Leicester were gaining confidence. The home crowd was thinking we've got a chance. But to be fair, as we've discussed already this season, Robertson, Gomez, Van Dijk and Alexander-Arnold have all been incredible. And we do look it so far. And Alisson too. We mustn't forget Alisson up to this point has been, well, I would say flawless. He's not made a single mistake. We finally found an answer to our goalkeeping problems. He is confident and composed, and you see him on the ball and you think, this is, I am calm with this, I'm okay with this. He could, he's got the ball at his feet and that's fine. What could possibly go wrong? Mr. Cool, Mr. Composure. Yeah, he's having a dribble, but what's going to go wrong now? It's fine. We've got Alisson. He's impregnable. Hasn't conceded a goal yet. He's great. We've finally solved our goalkeeping problems, and he's not going to do anything so stupid as to make some really avoidable mistakes. And yet, why not try a step over, Alisson? Go on, try a step over, despite being a goalkeeper. Yeah, you weren't too happy about this, were you?
No.
So, do you want to take us through what happened?
Well, yes, okay. Basically, Alisson gathers the ball, sort of the edge of a 6-yard box, dribbles it sideways. Who was it closed him down? Was it Iheanacho?
Yeah, Iheanacho.
Iheanacho closes him down. Alisson, because he's Brazilian, and because it's just not in his nature to just hoof it out of danger, and decides to throw in a few step overs. At which point he manages to sort of trip over his own feet. Iheanacho robs him of the ball. And the long and short of it is that the ball comes back into the 6-yard box, and Ghazal, is that how you say it?
Rashid Ghazal.
Rashid Ghazal. Oh, Ghazal. Scores. Completely unnecessary. Really, it's remarkable that basically Alisson, to his credit, managed to get back into goal and dive to nearly save it. That's half to his credit at managing to respond quickly to his mistake and get back to where he needed to be. But also, it says a lot about Leicester really fannying around with it, that they can just bury it straight into the open goal.
Yeah.
By the time they scored, they still had to put it past a couple of defenders and a goalkeeper.
Yeah, we realised what we'd done. Alisson made a colossal error here. He'd done it, if you remember the previous game with Anthony Knockout, where he chipped the ball over him, and there'd been a bit of, oh god, okay, fine. And as you say, Alisson had been up to this point, pretty solid, pretty dependable, and very calming. And this, I think, it was his first mistake in Europe. In terms of not just for us, but for Roma. He'd never made a mistake that led to a goal. So I think this was a bit of a wake-up call to him that the Premier League is slightly different to Serie A, and a lot, you'll get pressed a lot harder and a lot quicker by the players in this league.
Yeah, it's a real game because he hadn't conceded a goal for us.
He was going to at some time though.
Yeah, I know that. I didn't realistically think we'd get through a 38-game league season without Alisson, without conceding. But it's just a shame that when you've got a 100% clean sheet record, you throw it away so unavoidably. It wasn't even a good goal. Leicester didn't even take that open goal well. As I say, they almost messed it up. So in many ways, it was a really bad goal to concede.
Yeah.
It's just. I know it had to fall sometime. And it's probably better that it falls at our own hand. But it's just infuriating. It was just like it was so avoidable, so needless.
I totally agree, and it gave Leicester that kind of impetus to push on and put us under more pressure, and made the last half hour of the game pretty tough. Yeah.
Exactly. It's at a point in the game where we need to be, we're under pressure. We don't want to be, halving our lead. It just annoyed me. It didn't anger me so much. It annoyed me. Do you know what I mean? It pissed me off. It was, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't feel as. Ultimately it didn't matter because that was the last goal of the game, and Leicester, they huffed and puffed and couldn't break us down. And by the end of the game, we saw it through fairly responsibly. It didn't annoy me so much because I kind of felt that he seemed like the sort of person, got a goalkeeper who would learn from that. And as we would see in subsequent games, he did, because we've not seen that since.
Yeah, we haven't. Spoiler alert, we haven't. But
we have
which, like you say,
conceded more goals,
good.
but we've not seen a mistake from him. So
I mean, let's not give away all the content we've got coming up in the next 2 hours, man. God, it's almost like they could have watched these games for themselves before listening to it.
Yeah.
Which is more than I did for some of them. But where were we? What's going on?
So in the end, we take a very, very good and I think a very valuable 3 points away from Leicester City, away from home. That's 4 wins on the spin as well.
And I mean, I am getting ever so slightly worried that that's sort of a third game in a row where we've said, well, if you want to be champions, you have to win games like this, don't you? As in, not games like this as in Leicester City away, but like this as in quite scrappy and sort of a bit dug in and not necessarily a particularly stylish victory.
Not playing necessarily
because that's
our
now
best, yeah.
Yeah, it's that's now 75% of our games that have been unstylish and unglamorous, which compared to last season just feels a bit of a step down. It
does. I mean, but we have won 4 on the spin, so
if it leads us to the title, I won't care at all. But it's just slight doubts creeping in about whether we can, last season is replicatable. Replicable.
I think both. I think you could have both.
We've only seen one so far this season. That's what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Other than the West Ham game. Yeah.
So let's move on, and we go to a stomping ground that hasn't been very generous to us in recent years. In fact, Klopp has never won there, despite several attempts. It's not the new White Hart Lane, but it is Wembley, and it is Spurs away.
Yeah, I was really disappointed by this because I was really looking forward to our first game, us being the first visiting team to play at the new White Hart Lane, or the Northumberland Development Project, or the David Lammy Memorial Stadium, or whatever it is. I don't know why it'd be that. It's not like David Lammy's died, and I like David Lammy, and I wasn't inferring by that, but I hope he does. I should clarify that because I instantly feel bad for saying it. David Lammy's a top bloke. But I just know that he's a Spurs fan, and it's his neck of woods. Moving ever so swiftly on, but it's good. It's good because it gives us a chance to win a league game at Wembley, which we've not done.
No, absolutely not. And this is a team that battered us last year in one of our most humiliating performances under Klopp. So I felt like we sort of owed them one a bit.
Absolutely. Last year was a real nadir of our season. Day and Lovren coming off after half an hour. Just generally god awful. Yeah. And like you say, it's been a really unhappy stomping ground for us in terms of, even away from the Tottenham connection. We lost the FA Cup final in 2012. We lost the FA Cup semi-final in 2015. We lost the Carling Cup final in 2016. We aren't good at Wembley. It's only the only two times we've won there in a competitive game have been the FA Cup semi-final against Everton and against Cardiff.
Yes, very true. And don't forget, of course, Klopp lost there against Bayern with Borussia Dortmund in his Champions League final.
Of course he did, yeah. So was that 2012 as well?
I think so, yeah. So there we go. We owed them one, and we turned up. Keita was back in for Henderson in the only change. And I mean, there's no other way to say it. We battered them.
Yeah. We were a better side of,
throughout the whole game.
Yeah,
throughout the whole game. Yeah. It was like, it was a poor Spurs side, but we just seemed to be from the off. We just seemed to be at it, on fire against them. Quite honestly, we should have scored more than the one we scored just, in the first half. Although, despite having missed several gilt-edged chances, we did get treated to something 5 minutes before half-time, which I don't think either of us ever expected we'd see.
No. Gini Wijnaldum, well, he may have this record for never scoring away, but by God, is he the man for the big occasion.
Yeah.
What was his only other away goal for us, Matt?
Away against Rome in the Champions League semi-final.
In the Champions League semi-final in one of the most fearsome stadiums in Europe, and now here he is at, again, one of the most iconic stadiums in world football. And it's just yeah, fine. Very nearly wasn't a goal.
Yeah, it was. Is
that fair to say?
Corner came in. Goal. I think someone got a header. I can't remember who it was. Got a header on it. Somebody did. Goalkeeper foot flapped it a bit. A poor clearance from the defender, and it's a great header from Wijnaldum from the edge of the box. Really good power on it. Michel Vorm, who's in goal because I think Hugo Lloris was injured, gets across, and unfortunately it's already a yard and a half over the line. And so Wijnaldum's first Premier League goal away from home in England for Newcastle and Liverpool is given by goal line technology.
Yeah, at Wembley.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a sort of watershed moment in many ways, isn't it? And it's the lead we deserve. We've waited nearly the whole half for it. But it's come in the most unlikely and memorable of circumstances. Yeah, I mean the only complaint you could have going in at half time was that we were only ahead by one goal.
Oh yeah, I mean both Mane and Salah missed chances. Firmino did. Ronaldo missed his own chance as well. So I mean, it should have been more. And it was a case of, well, Spurs can't be this bad in the second half, can they? And I mean, they basically were. Yeah,
they were. In fact, it was less than 10 minutes after half time that we doubled our lead. Again, a sort of scrappy goal. I think it was it Robertson puts it across to Sadio Mane, who sort of slides it basically parallel to the goal, very close to the goal in fact. Sort of slides it to Firmino. Vorm sort of gets to it, then drops it, and sort of gets to it again, and a Spurs defender sort of kicks it at him again, and he somehow still doesn't get it. And basically, Firmino's just waiting there and just wallops it home.
Doesn't he technically score from inside the goal?
Ooh, that's a very good question.
I'm not sure. He's basically stood on the goal line.
He's basically, yeah. If not, he's got sort of 1 foot on the goal line.
And so yeah, with 2-0, and with Spurs seemingly offering very little threat, unfortunately we decided, so particularly Sadio Mane and Mo Salah decided to have their own who can score first competition, which ended up with a lot of missed chances and a lot of fury from Jurgen Klopp on the touchline.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that actually. He wasn't too impressed, was he?
There's a lot of cases where players should have passed the ball and didn't.
Yeah. It's not what you want. It's not. We're not in a position to be, do that when you're 5-0 up. Do it when you're 4-0 up in a Merseyside derby and you're trying to get Lucas to score or whatever. But don't do it when you've only got quite a slim lead against one of the league's best sides. Seems a bit complacent.
And I mean, it certainly proved to be when on the 90th minute, substitute Eric Lamela, with a great finish after a corner fell to him. Suddenly, it was almost like Spurs had a lift that they didn't really need to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, it's a slightly similar thing to the Leicester game, isn't it? It's halving our lead completely unnecessarily. Admittedly, a lot later in the game, but.
I'd also add if it's not really like Leicester, because Leicester were very good and actually put us under pressure. Spurs, we should have put them away way before this, and the fact that we let them back into it and gave them a sniff was quite frankly not acceptable.
Yeah. Also, the fact that last season we got completely screwed over by Spurs at the last minute in terms of equalisers. You can't bet against it happening again. Referees quite like Spurs.
Well, they nearly, and they probably should have had a penalty at the end of the game as well.
Well, exactly. But they didn't, and we hung on. Let's not be too down on it. It was another good win.
Absolutely. I mean,
5 out of 5.
Yeah, and two difficult games, 2 away wins, and we're still, top of the league without, having won all the games, which gives us great confidence as we jump into our first Champions League game of the season.
Yes, very exciting.
What a game it is.
What a game it is. Starting the Champions League campaign with what will possibly go down as one of the great European nights at Anfield. The stage was set for a memorable encounter. You've got probably 2 of the most fearsome threesomes in world football coming up against each other. One of the richest teams in the world versus one of the best.
Yes, it's PSG at Anfield. I think we haven't played PSG since about 1997. So I mean that's a good 20 years. It's an exciting fixture, and of course a very different looking PSG to what we faced then, with all the money that they've had put in to the club and their sort of glamorous superstar players. And there was one particular issue before we started the game, which made things slightly more interesting on our end, which is the fact that Roberto Firmino got basically caught in the eye by Jan Vertonghen in the previous game. In fact, if you Google the images, it's not particularly pleasant.
It's not at all, no.
No, it's a horrible image. I wouldn't recommend looking at it if you're squeamish at all. But what it did mean is that it gave Daniel Sturridge his first Liverpool game in the Champions League, incredibly.
Yeah, which is remarkable considering that he signed for us in January 2013.
Incredible.
5.5 years on, and he's making his Champions League debut for us. His first start for a while as well, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, certainly first start of the season.
Yeah, first start for about a year, I think. It paid off, didn't it?
Well, yeah, he had an impact. I mean, this is pretty much business as usual for us in the Champions League, if you look at this game in a microcosm. We started off the better side, really. I mean, whilst PSG obviously looked like a threat whenever they go forward, we were all over them, causing problems, creating some chances, and eventually we got a just reward on the half-hour mark, where after Trent swung in a cross, which was cleared, Andy Robertson picks up the ball, swings in another cross, and Danny Sturridge gets a header.
Yeah, I mean, great header, so well taken. I mean, you and me had been saying, like, Sturridge starting will either be fantastic or awful, and it was just, the years have been rolled back by the man this season. It's wonderful to see. I don't think there's a player on the pitch I would rather have scored the opening goal in that game for us than Daniel Sturridge.
No, and I liked how he celebrated, and it looked like sometimes he looks so laid back and calm that it looks like he can't be bothered. But this clearly meant a lot to him.
Oh yeah. I think it's almost time to resurrect the Sturridge plays, Sturridge scores phrase that we had a few years ago.
Oh yeah, I totally forgotten about that. Oh wow, that's a shot. That's a blast from the past. Yeah,
well, it's it's starting to become true again.
Yeah, you're right. So, wow. Anyway, yeah, he slams in the header for 1-0, and it doesn't take us long to get a second.
No, it doesn't at all, does it? It was what? How long was it?
About 5 minutes later.
Yeah, from James Milner, of course. Slightly different goal. Now, was it a penalty? Because it was said by many it was a very soft penalty to give away.
I mean, I've seen softer given against us, but then maybe I've also seen. I think this is more of a penalty than Salah's in the Crystal Palace game, if that's a fair thing to say.
I'd agree.
It's Wijnaldum who does really well here. Incredible, a lovely bit of skill. Wijnaldum, by the way, I would just like to say, early player of the season contender. I think he's been absolutely brilliant so far for us. Genuinely very unexpected. He does a brilliant bit of skill, turns in the box, is brought down by, I think it was Thomas Meunier, and James Milner does what James Milner does.
Yeah, just buries a penalty. I think, in fairness to Wijnaldum as well, I don't think he was looking for it, because if you look at it again, he gets straight back up again. He's almost up before it's given.
Yeah.
Which is a sign that he's not kind of looking for any sort of advantage and looking to dive and just fair or foul kind of. Yeah. So, but I would say definitely a pen. Excellently taken by Milner. Keeper was never getting it. We're 2-0 up against one of the best sides in Europe.
Yeah, it's dreamland, really. It's just
within 40 minutes.
Well, exactly. Although 40 minutes is unfortunately the time that we get punished for our first sort of error, and it wasn't really too much of an error. It was some great play from PSG, getting forward. We don't get rid of the ball properly on the first instance, and that man who I just mentioned, the Belgian fullback Thomas Meunier, smashes it home for PSG, and despite them not really offering too much of a problem, they've got one back.
Yeah, I do think it's quite amusing that we conceded to a fullback when their front three is Edison Cavani, Neymar, and Kylian Mbappe.
Who?
Kylian Mbappe and
Mbappe. It's Mbappe.
Now, I know it is, but I like to say it as Mbappe because then in my head I'm singing Hanson's Mbop, but with his name instead. And that makes me so happy. And I think these are dark times, Matt, for all of us. And I think it's important that we stick to what light we have. And I will continue pronouncing him Kylian Mbappe. So in my head I go just over and over again every time I hear his name.
That's amazing.
Or the alternative is I just want a frappe all the time.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of frappes, but fair play to you.
I never used to be, but I had a McDonald's Belgian chocolate honeycomb frappe earlier this year, and it's changed my life. If I'm honest with you,
wow.
I'm drinking frappes left, right, and centre.
Are you not buzzing with caffeine now?
Yeah, I don't even really know what they are. If I'm honest, I think it's because I don't like coffee. I don't drink coffee. So it's sort of coffee for people who don't drink coffee but who do like chocolate. I think I'm right in saying.
Pretty much, yeah. So anyway, enough frappe nonsense. We get to half time, and it is 2-1, and we are ahead, and we are looking very dangerous. And it has to be said, they're particularly their front three, Cavani, Neymar, and Mbappe, as we talked about, and Angel Di Maria behind them. I mean, they look a bit pathetic, really. I mean, the effort, they're not making any effort. I mean, I guess in Ligue 1 they don't have to make an effort, but you go to Anfield, you can't do much else. So. Yeah,
exactly. It reflected really bad on all of them, didn't it? But, although, let's not count our chickens too much, because Mbappe would come to a... what a great song that is. Whatever happened to Hanson?
They grew up, mate.
Did they?
Yeah, they're in their 40s now.
I don't even know how old they were to begin with. I don't know anything about them. Same with frappe. Yeah.
You know more about Kylian Mbappe than you know more about Hanson and frappe.
Yes.
So.
But I don't even know the words to Mbop, which is the only reason I say his name. Other than the title Mbop, and for possibly Wopsy Wop or something like that.
I feel like you should have done more research before you brought this up.
Yeah, well, I see. I feel you could have said that at any point in any podcast you've done together for the last 3 years.
Oh, dearie me. Yeah, well, anyway. So, yeah, you're right. In the second half comes, and I mean, we again, a running theme of this podcast will be we have chances to extend our lead and we don't take them. And we are by far the better side. PSG don't look like they're going to threaten. They don't look like they're going to make an effort. They just let our defence and our midfield just have the ball. And unfortunately, a player who was mentioned earlier on, Mo Salah, he's had a bit of a shocker here, and after missing a couple of gilt-edged chances and not passing when he should have done, he's the one who gives away a really poor pass that leads to the equaliser for PSG.
Yeah, and who scores the equaliser?
Kylian Frappe.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I was really, really cheesed off.
Same.
When this happened, I was at a meeting. I just come out of a meeting, I wasn't able to watch it. I was following it surreptitiously on my phone throughout the whole thing. And at 2-0, I'd sort of put my phone in my pocket and thought, yes, we got this. And when it was 2-1, it's like, that's alright, it's 5 minutes left, how can this be? Yeah, and I was really pissed off, and I went to the co-op just before it closed after the meeting to buy myself some alcohol because I was really annoyed. And then as I was queuing up with an arm full of ale in my hand, in my arm, I saw what happened next.
Yeah, before we go into that too much, let's just quickly explain what happens for the goal. Mo Salah in the midfield plays a really sloppy pass straight to Neymar. They break forward quickly. Neymar runs forward, plays in Mbappe, and I mean the one, probably the best teenager in world football isn't going to miss from there. And quite frankly, we've handed the rich kids, a lifeline.
I think that's harsh on Conor Masterson, Matt.
I don't, sadly.
Fair enough.
But either way,
I don't think he's even a teen. I think he's actually 20 now.
I think he's older than TAA, so there we go.
Yeah, he's definitely older than Mbappe.
So yeah, it looked like we'd thrown away a fantastic result against Paris Saint-Germain. But as Owen insinuated a few moments ago, this wasn't the end of the story, and in fact it came quite incredibly from a man who may not have even played in this game.
No, like you mentioned earlier, he was carrying an eye injury. He'd only come onto Firmino, obviously it is, had only come onto the pitch on the 70th minute when Sturridge came off. And I mean, some good sort of build-up play on the edge of the box. We were pouring people forwards at this point. We weren't giving up, which was really nice to see. A great goal.
It's a thumping finish. I mean,
thumping finish. So across the face of the goal, pretty much. Past through 3 defenders who were all trying to close down Firmino, across the face of the goal, past the keeper, and it was how nobody stopped it. I don't know, but I'm glad they didn't.
No, why? I mean, I imagine you dropped all the ale you had in the shop.
I did shout across the shop, which got me some very funny looks, but luckily they're about to close anyway, so they didn't have to kick me out. I could just sort of leave and pretend it was normal. But is it okay to say that their goalkeeper Areola made a bit of a tit of himself?
I was about to say that's right. Oh, it's such a stupid name. Yeah.
Alphonse Areola.
Areola, brilliant. That was going to be one of my is it real or is it not real footballer names from last year, but I decided that it was too recognisable because I thought you might know PSG's second choice goalkeeper at the time. So
you overestimate me, my friend.
Right, fair enough. Okay, fine. But anyway, I mean, what an end to this game. I mean, as I said at the start of this bit, this is just business as usual for Liverpool in the Champions League.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, have the potential to be one of the all-time great Anfield European nights. I think it is there.
It's in the top 20, I think.
Oh God, it's in the top 10, I would say.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think because I don't think they necessarily have to be nights where there's a lot riding on it. Do you know what I mean? They don't. I mean, I know it's only the first game of a group stage, but I think just in terms of a result, it's not quite an Olympiacos or a Dortmund or a sort of Roma or a Saint Etienne, but I would say it's kind of bottom of the top 10.
No, I think I'd say you're right. It was a brilliantly entertaining game. One little addendum, little cherry on top of our beautiful cake was that we finally got to see Fabinho in a competitive match.
Yes, for all of about 2 minutes.
Poor guy.
Which we do think might be one of the shortest Liverpool debuts ever, don't we?
I mean, I think there's a couple of others, because I think Raheem Sterling did similar when he first played for us. So I think there's a few younger players who have the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the shortest amongst a proper first team player, as opposed to someone like George Johnston coming on against Torino. Yeah,
which obviously that doesn't count anyway, but yeah, you're right.
No. But also we should also mention, in terms of cherries on the cake, Bobby's celebration, which was basically run after fans and put a hand over his eye. Just.
So hang on. So that means Firmino has scored no look goals, fully look goals and now half look goals.
Yes, that's about the scope of it. Yeah.
Quite incredible.
That's just reminded me, I never gave you my post-international break stat.
Go on.
There was now only 2 players in our first team squad, not counting those out on loan, that have not won an international cap whilst at Liverpool.
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, okay. So won a cap whilst at Liverpool. So they were okay. Ooh. See, I think I can do this. Would James Milner be one?
No.
Oh, did
James Milner was he retired, I think, the year after he joined us.
Okay, I wasn't sure what the timeline of that was. Oh God, that's really difficult because it's not really near the first team, is it? Certainly not what I consider to be the strongest first 11. You're gonna have to tell me that.
Well, there's 2 ways of looking at it. One is that they're in the squad, but they've never played internationally. And since we put Karius out on loan, there's only one player that applies to, and that is the much forgotten Pedro Chirivella.
Okay, right.
So you can sort of be forgiven for not picking up on that one. The other, who has played plenty of times internationally, but never since he joined Liverpool, is Joel Matip.
Well, I guess that's why you mentioned it before. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because that's when the debacle started, yeah?
Yeah. He had that weird thing with his contract, didn't he? With the Cameroonian FA. And basically sort of retired in a bit of a huff, and they thought it might only be a temporary thing, but he's never gone back on it. And yeah, he's the only international in our squad not to have won a cap since joining us.
Wow, fascinating actually.
There's still time for him to come out of retirement, but I don't really know how Cameroon are doing it, whether they need him to or not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not a fan with Cameroonian football generally. So.
No, I know last month we focused quite a lot on the international travails of Guyana.
You can go back and listen to that, by the way, if you go to iTunes and find our podcast.
I would recommend you do. But maybe this time we should see how Cameroon are doing.
Yeah, and very exciting.
They are currently 50th in the world.
It's not particularly great, but there we go.
No, it's down 3 places actually.
So anyway, with that exciting fact and that exciting game that we've just seen, some things are about to get more exciting. Not just in terms of the football, but in terms of the Plastic Scousers, because our next game is at home at Anfield on a Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff, a very rare thing for Liverpool nowadays, to a club that, for many reasons it's very exciting, because it is my hometown club of Southampton at home. But Owen, there's another reason why this game was very exciting, wasn't there?
Yes, there was. I was there. I was one of the 53,274 people in attendance, which I still can't quite believe I did. It was very exciting. For 90 minutes, I was not a plastic scouser, but if not an actual scouser, then at least a kind of, like a high quality PVC scouser. I was up in Liverpool for the Labour Party conference because I am a very boring man.
Sorry, I shouldn't have that.
And I had a free Saturday afternoon because the conference started on Sunday. I got up there on Friday evening, just for sake of ease, and so I had a free Saturday, and so I sort of begged, borrowed, and stole a ticket on Twitter, and eventually someone got in touch who ran a henna tattoo parlour, and said he had a spare one, which he was happy for me to have. So thank you very much, Nick, if you're listening.
Did you plug the Plastic Scousers podcast to him?
I didn't. I was more concerned, if I'm honest, with the fact he might stab me.
Oh, don't be like that to tattoo artists. I'm part of the sort of the rock and roll heavy metal community, and we are not like that.
It wasn't because he was a tattoo artist. It was because it was literally a man. Well, I didn't even know it was a man for a long time. It was a Twitter account with a profile photo that wasn't a face. Who said, "Yes, I'll give you a ticket. Bring £60 in cash to the corner of Hope Street, and text me when you get there." And I don't know. I was just. I guess I wasn't. Well, yeah. I've never done this before. I've never bought like spare tickets. You know. I didn't want to just like turn up to the ground and hope a tout would give me one, because I think touts are bastards. But so I don't know. Like, there were just a few kind of like slight alarm bells ringing, and I was just really kind of concerned standing there in a city that I know but aren't necessarily familiar with like 60 quid tucked inside my jacket, with someone who I didn't know what they looked like, and just giving very furtive sideways glances to every single person who walked past. But he was lovely. He was really softly spoken, which helped. And yeah, it was great. The only annoying thing was that I got there, bought a beer, and then realised I couldn't take it actually to my seat with me, and so had to down a £4 bottle of Carlsberg in about 3 minutes, so I didn't miss the teams coming out.
I mean, that's a rookie mistake, man.
It was very cold as well, and downing cold lager is difficult, you know. I mean, downing lager is something that I generally struggle with these days. I'm out of practice, but like really like cold straight from a fridge lager is it's not so. It really goes straight through you.
I can empathise with that. So look, with that in mind, I got a little suggestion, because this hasn't happened. In fact, this has never happened before in the history of Plastic Scousers podcast. So I've got a little suggestion. As you were there and you got to see the whole game live, I thought what we could do is this. I will talk us through the pre-match, as I was, what was I doing? I was at work, because I work weekend, so I was at work on a Saturday, finding out about what you've been up to. But unfortunately, one of the things when you go to a game is sometimes you don't get to pick up all the pre-match chat or the pre-match sort of discussions, seeing the systems, lineups, tactics, and the rest of it. So I'll go through that, and then you can explain the whole game to us. Everything. Talk us through exactly what happened. Let us know exactly what happened from where you were, and tell us all the exciting little details you got to see. Fair?
I will do my best. I will test my old grey matter slightly, but I'll do my best.
So, we turned up at the game, and it's actually a slightly interesting formation situation, because we changed from the usual 4-3-3 and went to a 4-2-3-1. So what happened was we took out James Milner, who was only on the bench in this game, and Sheridan Shaqiri got his first start for Liverpool. We assumed to play in a similar midfield position, but actually ended up playing in more of a free role number 10, which meant that we had Hendo and Wijnaldum as a two-lying sitting midfield, two midfielders sitting, and then basically Shaqiri and the front three just going at Southampton hammer and tong, which makes sense because Southampton had not been great at the start of the season. They hadn't been scoring goals. In fact, their main source of goals happens to be a player that we'd given them in Danny Ings, who, because he was on loan for the season, couldn't even play in this game. So Southampton turned up not great on form, not really much hope of scoring, just hoping to try and withstand the pressure of Liverpool, and we just threw 4 players at them. And with that, Owen, explain to us exactly what happened.
Well, I mean, I won't give you all 90 minutes. My main memories was just how bloody good Shaqiri was. Well, I'll tell you one thing actually I remember, which I was quite... Are you still there? I get the feeling Matt has just got up and left. I see now why he did this, but okay. Well, the main thing to report was I was quite disappointed by the fact that You'll Never Walk Alone, which last time I went to see Liverpool play at Anfield, which admittedly was now 14 and a half years ago, which is crazy really to think that I've been alive for that long amount of time to have an anecdote of a day when I was already sort of a teenager and it was that long ago. That's sort of terrifying. Yeah, I mean, I was ready to sing You'll Never Walk Alone as the teams came out. but instead they came out and then we sort of played it just as the game was kicking off, which didn't seem the right way to do it. But who am I to argue? Overarching memory of the actual game of the on-pitch action was just the immense power of Xherdan Shaqiri. Fantastic performance. Matt's back. Hello again. Fantastic performance.
That's great, thank you, Owen. And tell us more about what you saw.
Did you enjoy that, Piss?
What do you mean? What are you talking about? I didn't go for a wee or get another beer. No, I didn't do that at all.
Getting another beer. Okay, that's forgivable. Just brilliant individual performance from him. Just creative, but also like really powerful. Do you know what I mean? There was no sort of like flimsiness about his skill. You got the sense that he could either dribble it round them and like do all the nutmegs and all that, or literally steam through them like Juggernaut from the X-Men comics, of whom he is not dissimilar to appearance-wise. If you imagine the love child of Vinnie Jones's Juggernaut from the X-Men films and Toby Jones, you will have Xherdan Shaqiri. But he really deserved a goal. He tried everything, didn't quite get one. The first goal we got was an own goal from a man whose surname I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce.
It's Wesley Hurt.
Wesley did hurt after this.
It's pretty comical, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Shaqiri does a wonderful bit of skill down the left-hand side, takes it past one of Southampton players, pings it in. I'm not really sure if it was a shot or a cross, but it comes off. Was it Cedric Suarez's elbow?
Something like that, yeah.
And basically, or Vestergaard maybe, bounces into Hurt off his teammate's arm. So there was a reasonable case of handball. Bounced into Hurt's leg, just sort of trickles over line past Alex McCarthy, who, as I've discussed before in this podcast, is a goalkeeper I've got a lot of time for, and I hope he gets his England debut sooner rather than later. But it was a weak goal for a player of such power as I've described. But he didn't seem to mind as he wheeled away to celebrate. Still a shame that he didn't get him on the score sheet himself. But on this performance, it won't be long before he is. Second goal was also at the Anfield Road end, which is where I was sitting, so I was very lucky. Fantastic corner by Trent Alexander-Arnold. I knew it was going to be a goal. I just could feel it. Ball came in. Yo Matip, also making his first start of the season, rises up, heads it home from sort of midway through penalty area. Fantastic header. It's just textbook corner header, bosh.
Can I just make an addendum to that? Whilst you might have known it was a goal, you surely weren't expecting it to be Joel Matip to score it.
Well, I don't know, because I saw him running forwards, and he is, he's a proper lanky player, isn't he?
We've always said he should be playing basketball.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if you'd asked me before the game, is Matip going to score? I said no, but somehow it just did seem. It seemed right. I just felt the ball was. Yeah, I don't know. Because Van Dijk was up there as well, and yeah, I just had a feeling.
It was his first home goal for Liverpool.
It was, yeah, his first goal at Anfield. His first goal at all since the 4-1 demolition of West Ham at the Olympic Stadium last November. But yeah, really great. And then just before the end of just before the end of the first half, rather, Shaqiri whips in a great free kick. It kind of comes down off the crossbar. Again, deserved to be a goal. He could feel kind of justifiably aggrieved that he went in at half-time without getting on the score sheet, Shaqiri. And Salah, who was, I won't say wasted several decent chances this game, but there were several chances that Salah of last season would have buried, and Salah of this season either didn't put the power on it or didn't quite make the cross, or it just trickled past the post, or he didn't connect with it properly. All sorts of reasons why this season's Salah didn't do what last season's Salah would have done in his sleep. But he was ready there to basically get what was a tap in after the free kick come down off the crossbar. It was a tap in. it wasn't anything special. He's scored probably most of the goals he scored for Liverpool are better goals than that. But you could see a sort of weight lift off his shoulders. He kind of celebrated with the team, and then as he was sort of walking back to his own half, he turned to the Anfield Road and just kind of stuck his arms out in that quite what has become a familiar Salah pose, and just sort of, I wouldn't say milked it, but it got a special roar of its own, from the crowd, which was very nice to be part of. What was hilarious was Shaqiri running off to celebrate pretty much by himself, having thought that he'd scored the free kick, only to turn around and see all of his teammates were hugging Mo Salah, which in fairness he laughed at. Second half was both a lot flatter for me personally, because it was all Liverpool, but that just meant it was down the other end of the pitch. There wasn't much happening on our end, other than to look at the back of Alisson's head, which is alright. But I mean, it was generally like we'd taken our foot off the gas massively. Shaqiri had come off at half time. No one was really sure why, but it did take away a lot of our sort of spark in the middle. A lot of that kind of dynamism went off with him. Although I was pleased to say I got to see James Milner play. What was more worrying was the fact that Van Dijk, who was harbouring a bit of a rib injury, also went off, so Joe Gomez came on about 10 minutes after half time, which is also a collector's item, because that is the first time Virgil van Dijk has ever been substituted in his Liverpool career. So, good fact there. That's one to wheel out at parties. Keita came on for the last 20 minutes, but didn't really do an awful lot. There's not much to say about the second half at all, really. Southampton barely threatened. We nearly got a fourth when Andy Robertson blazed one just over the bar with about 5 minutes to go. I told Matt it was going to be I think I said 2-0, didn't I? But you said 3-0, and so I was desperate for that fourth goal to go in. It didn't. I was quite annoyed, and I did think of you at that moment and thought you would be delighted with that shot whizzing over the crossbar, and you were. But yeah, it was a good game. It later transpired that, funnily enough, Jeremy Corbyn had also been in the crowd that day. He had done the same thing as me, and sloped away from Labour Party conference for the afternoon, which is slightly less forgivable because he's the leader, but he's clearly got good taste. And then I just walked back pretty much to Liverpool City Centre, and it was a good day.
I mean, that is fantastic analysis, man. I have to admit, I'm very impressed. I'm slightly envious. However, you were right. I did predict the exact right results. In fact, just listeners won't really understand this, but that was the third correct prediction in 4 that I'd made. So, pretty chuffed with that. And,
What I will say as well is I remember the goals a lot better when I've seen them happen in person.
Of course, it's an event. It's a spectacle for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed by how well I can remember them. I think compared to even like games that I've watched live, like I don't know why. Yeah, it's probably just because I was there, isn't it? But
to be fair, you were very, very lucky because that first half was spectacular.
Yeah, it was, and I was lucky that it was. If I'd been in the Kop, which is, sort of where you want to sit when you're at Anfield, you know what I mean?
Mm.
You want to be in the Kop. If I'd been in the Kop, I wouldn't have really seen any of them. So I really was very lucky. And it was nice as well because it's the first time, because you and me went to Anfield a couple of years ago.
Mm.
But it's changed a lot. It has changed remarkably since then. Because obviously we've got the whole new main stand, which is absolutely enormous, and with it this whole new sort of plaza and the new shop and the re-sited Hillsborough Memorial. The Shankly Gates have been moved, and everything is very different. It's almost like it's not at all. And especially because I came in from the other end, rather than coming in through the Kop like in that day, so it felt quite unfamiliar in some ways. And it's very nice, but it's just it doesn't quite feel the same. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just it was but like that side of the stadium where once there were sort of boarded up terraces and just residential streets is now unrecognisable. Although the Everpool little chip van is still there. Do you remember that?
Of course.
Yeah, that's still going. I didn't get any chips from there because I'd run out of change. But it was that £4 bottle of Carlsberg that I had to literally just not let touch the sides. But it was good. It was very good.
Good. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed yourself, and I'm glad you're representing the Plastic Scousers, and hopefully one day I might be able to do the same. So.
Yes, I would very much hope you can.
Maybe next time you could ask if they had 2 spare tickets. No, I'm kidding.
Yes.
I'm kidding.
Well, if I know if I thought you were free, I'd have said come up to. But you just got a job where you started working weekends.
Yeah, I have to work every weekend till the end of the year now, so I don't have much choice.
But in the new year, let's.
Yeah. Oh well.
Let's invest because I've still got the guy's number. It turned out to be his genuine phone number.
Oh, good.
So I can now.
Ask if
I
he's
can
got
now
free
just.
tickets.
And just as long as he promises not to stab me.
It's fine, I'll represent, it's all good. Well, unfortunately, after the high of that, we have to now go to the low of what's about to come, because the last 2 games we're going to be discussing are both against the same team. Firstly, a midweek League Cup game at Anfield to bloody Chelsea.
Yeah, the League Cup 3rd round.
Yeah, not a great draw.
Not a great draw, really disappointing draw. I was dead set on Macclesfield. Not only because we've never played Macclesfield, but as even West Ham showed, Macclesfield are awful. They beat them 8-0, and that's West Ham, who we beat 4-0. So if you times that by 4, which I think is the logical way to work this out,
Obviously.
we basically would have beaten Macclesfield 32-0, which I think I would have enjoyed.
I think I might have done too.
I am quite sad we missed that spectacle. A goal every 3 minutes.
Instead, we got the spectacle of, not particularly of this.
More of a contact lens than a spectacle.
Yeah, it's very true. Very well done.
Not sure that joke makes much sense. But
both sides showed up to this game with a very changed lineup. I mean, for us, Mignolet was in goal. Klein, Lovren, Matip and Moreno made up the back 4, none of which were now regular starters. Milner and Keita were in the midfield, who you would consider regulars, but Fabinho got his first start. And we saw Firmino and Salah both dropped, but Mane did start alongside Sturridge again, and Giroud and Shaqiri.
Yeah, which was nice to see he was rewarded for his impressive first half against Southampton. It made sense to rest Salah, who's out of form, Firmino, who must be knackered, Van Dijk, who was still harbouring that bit of an injury,
Alisson, who played every second so far,
although been largely untested in a few of them, particularly against Southampton. But I don't think you could really argue with the lineup that much.
Sorry, hang on. What I would say is it would show off the squad depth, the fact that this is almost a second string side, and it's still pretty decent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of those players in there would have gotten our first team a couple of years ago. In fact, a lot of them were our first team. You only have to go back about 2 years, and that's our first choice defence.
Exactly.
Mignolet, Klein, Lovren, Matip and Moreno. That is our first choice back 5. And you compare that to what we put out on, the sort of most of the season of Alisson, Trent, Van Dijk, Gomez and Robertson. It's a class apart. There were some interesting inclusions of a bench as well. Obviously Mo Salah, Bobby and Hendo and Gomez all dropped to the bench. Not too surprising that they'd feature up there. Dominic Solanke in his first matchday squad appearance of the season. Curtis Jones being named on the bench for only the second time in his career after the Merseyside derby last season. And Camille Grabara, our new 4th choice goalie, but Quivine Kelleher is injured, so he sort of stepped up to 3rd choice. And on the bench in the matchday squad for the first time ever.
There we go.
Which means that number 73 is now officially a Liverpool squad number.
Absolutely, although not the highest we've ever had. Certainly threatened to be had Mignolet had an issue in the game.
Yes, which I'm just going to say it. Sadly, he didn't. I would have, I wouldn't have minded seeing debut for Grabara, particularly as we were by that point going out anyway.
Yeah, very true. Unfortunately, this is not the highlight of our season. At this point, we'd had 7 wins on the bounce. So, I mean, it was going to come to an end at some point. It was just very frustrating the way it did. It was a really genuinely not great performance against a much changed Chelsea side who dominated large spells of the game. Certainly the first half, although there was goalless up to half time. Chelsea were the stronger side, although I would like to put some of the blame on that to referee Kevin Friend, who was absolutely atrocious in this game. And we don't talk about referees much on this podcast because, one, they're quite, if they're forgettable, then they've done a good job, and if they're not, well, we'll talk about them. But I personally thought he was an atrocious referee in this game, and you can tell that by the fact that almost all our midfield and defence got booked, and Chelsea's didn't, even though they did the same things. Sorry, I'm just going to stop there.
No, I don't disagree. Yeah, I can't argue with any of that. So, so we went in a level at half time, despite being the worst side. It looked brighter as we came out for the second half.
Oh, I think we were better in the came out better in the start of the second half, and actually we should have scored after a few minutes. Danny Sturridge managed to miss an open goal, which was absolutely awful. He was played. It was a terrible back pass from somebody, which he did very well to intercept. It goes around the keeper brilliantly. He's got time to take it because it's on his weaker foot, his right foot, but he's got a second to control and play it in on his left. He hits it with his right, and it's miles wide. It's a horrible miss.
Yeah, not a good one. He made up for it though.
Well, exactly. A few minutes later, he actually finds us the opening goal.
What a way to do it. Superb. Sort of like overhead scissor kick.
Yeah.
How would you describe it?
Well, because Moreno, I think, he has a shot which Caballero palms out, and so down the star, as you say, it's like an overhead scissor kick into the empty net that was left behind. It's a brilliant finish, and as you say, makes up for the horrible miss to put us in the lead.
And I wasn't able to watch this game. I was just travelling back from Liverpool and had to go straight out again when I got back. So I kind of wasn't really seeing the dodgy aspects of it. And I saw we were ahead, and I was dead pleased. And we never really looked like holding on to it. Is that a fair comment to make?
I mean, certainly Chelsea, after we scored, Chelsea got back into it and resumed their sort of dominance of the first half. We looked fairly solid. Chelsea didn't create, had a couple of chances. Willian in particular looked very dangerous. But the introduction of Hazard a couple of minutes before Sturridge actually scored turned the game on its head. I mean, Hazard has been probably undoubtedly the best player in the Premier League so far this season. And he got Chelsea what would eventually turn out to be their win. Firstly, winning a free kick, which after it was whipped in, I can't remember who it was, got a header on it, maybe Aspilicueta. Someone got a header on it, which Mignolet spills, because of course he does. And their number 33? What's his name? Emerson, that's it. He taps in a rebound.
Yeah, that was disappointing enough. That was 10 minutes before the end, and then 5 minutes later, I'm not sure.
I mean, what can we say to this, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic bit of skill from a player, but I don't particularly like him. And it was obviously scored against us, so I don't really want to give it too much credit.
No, I mean, you have to applaud. Eden Hazard does do 2 or 3 of our players and scores a brilliant goal. You can't, unfortunately, sometimes, as I've, personally, I've always said on this podcast, the only goals you'll ever be happy to concede are either belters from 40 yards you can't stop, or brilliant bits of individual genius, and unfortunately this was the latter.
Yeah, it was sort of like the Maradona against England in '86, kind of that second goal where it's like, it's can't argue with that, really, can you?
No.
Very disappointing. I mean, do you want to talk us through the goal? Is there any point?
Not really. Go and watch it yourself. It's great.
Yeah.
But what it does mean is that we're out of the League Cup before we've really even started.
Yeah, for the second season in a row. It was. I mean, I don't think we deserved to win necessarily.
No, I think it was the right result. To be fair,
it's just disappointing. It's disappointing to go out when we had been ahead. It's disappointing to throw away a lead. It's disappointing to concede late.
we lost our unbeaten record.
Gone out the cup. Players like Solanke, Mignolet, the young players like Jones and Phillips and Camacho, and even people like Klein, have all been robbed of that sort of chance to stake a claim and to improve by actually getting game time, which is what we saw last year. As Danny Ward's last game for Liverpool was, of a career that was far shorter than it deserved to be, and it ended with a defeat against Leicester. But it wasn't his fault. I think it was last time we ever saw Flanagan play for Liverpool as well. And it's it's not nice going out of the cup ever, really, is it? It's not nice losing. It's not nice going out of the cup. And it was just it was just sad. It's a shame.
Yeah, it was a real shame. As we mentioned just before this, we did have the chance to maybe exact some revenge in the league. This time heading down to West London to play them in the league.
Yeah, like we say, it's happened against Leicester last year. The exact same thing has happened again this year, except not both in the same town. You know what I mean? I wasn't so sure about this one.
No.
It was either that defeat on the Wednesday was either going to give it really kind of spur us on, or it was going to completely bugger our momentum. And in the end, it wasn't really either, was it?
No, it was a strange game, really. Both teams were back to full strength. So, I mean, on our end, Alisson was back in goal. The back four we've discussed several times is in. Henderson was preferred to cater in midfield, a decision that I wasn't certain about. But the front three were all in. And with Chelsea, they basically were back to full strength as well. So this was going to be much more of a test for both teams, I think.
I can't remember this game too well, and I can't remember why not.
I don't know if you were watching it. I certainly was. Again, I was at work. It's a Saturday, but don't tell my bosses. Hope you're not listening. I was watching the game. Actually, we all know because we were all watching it together. Never mind. Anyway, we Chelsea were for the first half hour much stronger than us. Again, I think we looked a bit nervous, a bit scared. We didn't want to get done too badly after what happened in the week. And deservedly, Chelsea took the lead, and it's that bloody Eden Hazard again. And again, you can't really argue with the goal. It's some fantastic football in the midfield. Eventually, Kovacic plays a beautiful ball through Eden Hazard with a great finish that Alisson can't do anything about. And unarguably, we deserve to be behind.
Yeah, no, you're right. We do deserve to be behind. It's just annoying, those players that you can't argue against when they score against you. That's what Hazard is, isn't he? He's just a better player than some of ours.
I mean, we talked about this, like Mo Salah wasn't firing at all, hasn't been basically all season, despite having scored about 3 or 4 goals already. Whereas their best player, Eden Hazard, who probably shouldn't even be there because Real Madrid wanted him and he didn't get to go, is, as I mentioned, probably the best player in the league right now.
Yeah, he is. He's really hit. It's typical that he's hit form just as we faced Chelsea twice in 4 days.
There we go. And he likes going against us as well. He's scored a few times now.
He's basically, a poor man's Christian Benteke.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't have too much to say about this one, really.
No, I mean, we get to half time and we just sort of hope to get through. I think the second half was a lot better, but the one thing Chelsea have, I think less so from Michy Sarri, who's come in and given them a lot of attacking edge, but particularly from Antonio Conte's days, they have a lot of good organisation, and we found it very, very difficult to break them down. There wasn't a lot of creativity from our midfield. There wasn't a lot of spark in terms of impetus. The front three, obviously, as we talked about, haven't really been firing. It's almost quite interesting to see how Sadio Mane started the season really well and has died off. Roberto Firmino picked up the trails and scored 3 in 3 at the start of the month, and then he's faded off, and Salah just can't seem to get a grip. We actually didn't mention the moment when Firmino scored against PSG, and it was caught on camera that Salah threw his water bottle down.
Oh yeah.
We didn't mention this, but it was very, very clear to me. I mean, obviously, people mistook it as being a bit of a hissy fit. For me, it was just very clear that he was so frustrated that he'd had a bad game and is not having a great time with things, that he got frustrated and let his anger out that he wasn't able to be part of it.
Yeah, I think that's broadly the case. It just doesn't help our kind of press coverage in terms of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do exactly. I agree with you entirely. And
I've explained that really badly. I've barely explained it at all.
I do understand. It doesn't look great.
Yeah, it's negative attention. We don't need any negative attention. It doesn't help.
No, and I think Salah's the sort of personality who thrives on positivity. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a bit worrying to see.
And as just after an hour, he's hauled off for Sheridan Shaqiri, and actually, I think, arguably. Klopp, we've always talked about Klopp not making changes quick enough, and I think we were absolutely right to criticise him here, because if you look at the changes we make and how influential they are, Sheridan Shaqiri's onto off the bench and gives us more of a dynamism straight away, so much so that at one point, I think after about 75 minutes, he misses a glorious chance to score after a brilliant ball across from Andy Robertson. Shaqiri's free, 8 yards out, just a keeper to beat, and he blazes it and he misses it completely and sends it wide. And when he did that, I thought, oh god, this is not going to be our day, is it?
No, it's
just so frustrating, really. Just so
it's as baffling as it is frustrating, isn't it? Especially in terms of Salah stuff. It's sort of inexplicably so,
So the other two changes that we made was Naby Keita came on after 78 minutes for Jordan Henderson, and I mean, he made a big difference because he gave us that drive from midfield to attack. And I know that I have to admit I bigged up Naby Keita a lot. We've not seen enough of it yet. We may do later in the season, hopefully we will. But I think in this game he certainly had a better impact than any of our midfielders did, because whilst they were all efficient, this was a game where we needed somebody with that creativity in those lines and that energy to break through, and he made that difference hugely. But the best and the biggest change of all came when Milner came off after 86 minutes for one Mr. Daniel Sturridge. And as Owen said at the beginning of this review of the month, what was it? Sturridge plays, Sturridge what?
Sturridge plays, Sturridge scores.
And oh my god, is this not incredible?
What a goal. What a goal.
I mean, I'm going to say this right now. This is better than any goal we scored last season. So it's going to take some effort to be as good as this. This is the best goal we scored since Emre Can at Watford.
Really? Better than Salah against Roma?
100%. 100%. Sturridge has no right to do this. To do what he manages to pull off here.
No. Okay, I'm not sure if I agree with you there, but I'm not immediately disagreeing with you. I'm going to have to give it some more thought.
Talk us through it.
Well, he's what? He's outside the penalty area. I can't remember who gives him the ball.
Shaqiri.
Yeah. He's barely touched the ball by this point, Sturridge. In fact, this might even be his first touch. I can't quite remember.
It was like the first one or two touches, yeah.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, a good couple of metres outside of the penalty area, over to the left-hand side. Not like on the wing or anything, but sort of to the left of the goal. Takes a step and just absolutely wallops it. It was like sort of Roberto Carlos-esque kind of thing, and just sort of flies into top corner. It's difficult to really find words for it.
It's an unbelievable strike with so much nonchalance and ease, and it's one of those where you think, well, this was the only thing that we were going to be able to do to beat Chelsea, to get a goal against Chelsea, because they were so well organised and so defensive, and it's just magic.
it's a hard goal to do justice to. Just if you've not seen it, do just go away and watch it. Like pause this podcast and look it up on YouTube now, because it's, words can't really do justice to it. I mean, it's just like watching Sturridge of 5 years ago.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
It's like all those injuries and all those disappointments and all those niggles and little setbacks and knocks and tweaks and like sprains and all of that, all those misguided England call-ups, all those sales of his strike partners, all those changes that he's had to go through at the club, all that the ill-fated loan move to West Brom. It's like all of that never happened, and we're seeing Sturridge is finally picking up the baton where he put it down in 2014. It's it's wonderful to see.
Yeah, and of course he doesn't run off and celebrate being a Chelsea, long-term Chelsea boy, but it gives us the point we deserved. I think in the end a draw was probably a fair result in the balance of play. In fact, both managers said so. In fact, that is a strange thing, because Liverpool and Chelsea in recent years have never got on, since the Jose Mourinho Benitez days. But for some reason that seems to be turning something of a corner with Sarri and Klopp.
Yeah, they seem to really look upon each other as equals. I mean, I know they are, but there's a real sort of respect there, isn't there? There's a real kind of warmth and actual sort of camaraderie, but there's sort of gentleman's respect between the two of them as well, which is really nice.
So yeah, I mean, maybe slightly more united future than. Well, at one point, not to bring up too many negatives in this podcast, but at one point when Liverpool unfurled a banner with Justice for Greenfell, the response from Chelsea fans was, "You're always the victims," which was both stupid, ironic and wrong. So there we go.
Oh man, when was that? Was that this game?
Yeah, that was in this game at some point, yeah. I can't remember when, I just remember seeing it on the thing.
I'd not heard that. That's appalling.
Yeah, there we go.
That's really depressing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Chelsea fans for you. So, hello to the non-Chelsea fans listening, and if you are, sod off, I don't care. But with that, fantastic goal, and that, I think a point away at Stamford Bridge, maintaining our unbeaten start to the Premier League season, I think I'd probably take that.
Yeah, it's not the ideal result, and it's a shame to lose our 100% record in the league, but
we weren't going to win every game, and this, a point away at Stamford Bridge is a good result, really.
Yeah, it could be worse. It could be a lot worse.
Yeah, I'll take it.
And we've got away trips to Spurs and Chelsea out the way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
By this time next month, we'll have played three of our main rivals. Whether it's rivals for the league or rivals for top four or whatever, rivals to come second or whatever it is. We will have played three of them. Two of them will have been away.
Exactly.
And we'll have played Arsenal by the end of next month as well. So we've kind of got a lot of the toughest games out of the way early on. There's only really, in terms of this season up to this point at the end of September, there's only really West Ham, Crystal Palace, and Brighton. Oh, and Southampton, I suppose. That's.
Yeah.
I suppose 4 out of 7.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but with half of our games, if you include the Man City fixture at the beginning of October, will have been literally 50% of our league games will have been against difficult teams, and given that really you'd only say there's 6 or 7 difficult teams in the league for us.
Well, I say 5 very difficult teams, and also the Merseyside derby is a different entity altogether. Yeah,
and then people like sort of Leicester, well organised little sort of top 10 but not top 5 sides, and maybe you'd add someone like.
Well,
I don't really know.
Burnley?
Maybe Burnley, yeah. I mean, they're not doing so well this season. I don't think we play them for a couple of months yet, but it's that kind of second division of the top division kind of side,
Yeah, not threatening relegation, not going to compete for the championship.
Yeah, they are. they're competing for Europe, really. They're competing to sort of scrape into the Europa League.
Mm.
They're hoping that, like, Arsenal or someone will have a really bad season. They might get a snatch of Europe.
Or one of my favourite expressions, hoping for a cup run.
Hoping for a cup run. Yeah, like Macclesfield.
I don't think he's in Macclesfield.
Well, no, I was about to say Macclesfield, who haven't won in the league all season, and yet got as far as us in the League Cup this year.
We've got to play at the Olympic Stadium.
Yeah. Now either that's a sign of how badly we did in the cup, or how well they've done.
I think we should applaud them.
Yeah, well, we went out with first hurdle. I would like to say Macclesfield, well done to you guys, because it's been a really horrible season for you. But getting to the third round of the League Cup when you are statistically the worst team of all professional teams in England is decent. So chin up, lads. Chin up.
Exactly. And with those wonderful words of wisdom, before we move on and jump into some of the other features of the podcast for this month, we'd just like a word from our sponsors. Andy Robertson walks through a disused oil rig. The dappled light plays across his rugged features as it reflects off of the faded machinery. Focusing his eyes, he reaches to touch the edge of an oil drum. As he does, flash! He is now in a casino in Las Vegas. Women and chimps see the side of him. He is now wearing a tuxedo t-shirt and drinking champagne through a straw. Everyone is laughing, manically, with no reason given as to why. Andy Robertson turns to the camera, winks with both eyes, and throws a handful of roulette chips at the camera. The roulette chips land in the exact shape of Andy Robertson's face from behind. Robbo, for men.
Hi, I'm James Milner, CEO of James Milner Industries. Please don't try and steal a patent for yourself, because I haven't done it yet. It's very complicated to do. I'm here to talk to you today about my next business venture, following the success of James Milner's Holiday Park with me, James Milner, and James Milner's Tea Bags with me, James Milner. Have you ever struggled to successfully run and operate your corn mills in the Yorkshire area? Does your agent providing a low to middle income workforce specialising in the alkaline cooking process let you down? Or do you just fancy a bit of a filler from a miller? Introducing James Milner's Millers with me, James Milner. Sorry, that's a bit saucy. My business manager recommended that sex sells, but I don't think I'll be doing that again. James Milner's Millers with me, James Milner, provides the finest quality millers for your corn milling establishment. Whether it's maintenance, operation, admin, or making a good old cup of tea using James Milner's tea bags with me, James Milner. James Milner's Millers with me, James Milner, can provide. We have the cream of the corn crop. In the Miller game in the Yorkshire area with our star miller Barnaby, highly rated on 3.4 stars on ratemymiller.biz. That goes along with our overall rating on ratemymiller.biz of 3.4 stars, mainly because Barnaby is currently the only miller on our books. Contact us today for a quote and to check the availability of Barnaby. You can either come to our office in the Hollins Hall Hotel Restaurant and Wedding Venue in Baildon, room 4C overlooking the main road, or send us a message with your name, company, and what exactly you'll need Barnaby to do. Unfortunately, as our technology intern had to leave for some reason, I haven't been able to set up an email yet, so you'll have to send a fax. James Milner's Millers, with me, James Milner. Getting the wheels of your corn mill going again, or operating more efficiently. Again, it's whatever you'd like Barnaby to do.
Are you looking for a little spark in the bedroom? Do you miss the vavavoom? Are you eager to join a spasm of continental passion like they do in Paris, Marseille and La Touquet? Mon ami, you need Gerard Houlier's Love Biscuits. These irresistible little clackers are guaranteed to give your love life a big healthy dose of what we, the French, call je ne sais quoi. Gerard Houlier's Love Biscuits will fill your sheets with joie de vivre, and your wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or someone else's husband too. Don't just listen to us, listen to this sincere French woman. My relationship with my husband was non-existent. We both hated each other's guts, and it was only a matter of time before we both had our separate affairs with the milkman. But with Gerard Houlier's Love Biscuits, my husband has never been happier. How you say, he runs like a release horse, and I haven't walked properly in weeks. Plus, I love the versions. Gerard Houlier's Love Biscuits contain a special blend of sugar, flour, raisin, and Viagra to make sure that whatever happens, there'll be no white flag for your love life just yet. Gerard Houlier's Love Biscuits for people who love biscuits and sex, particularly sex. They're not very nice biscuits.
Hey, what's with the extra chunk around the trunk? That's no excuse. Do you enjoy being the massive butt of everyone's jokes? You're disgusting. Do you have too much on your plate? And in a stress way, don't just sit there watching your football team run around while you drink beer, eat pizza and force your children to bring you ice cream. Get fit now at the LFC boot camp. We will drill you down and get you running hard, doing laps at the Anfield pitch, bouncing those man boobs up and down until your face is battered like a chip shop sausage. You'll spend 3 hours a day minimum in our state-of-the-art gym, vigorously pounding the cross trainers, step machines and rowing the machines until you sweat so hard your balls will fall off. We'll lock away all your booze and junk food and replace it with nothing but meal replacement water, breakfast, water, lunch, water, dinner, diet water. Then prepare yourself for the ultimate challenge of all fat people joining football club related fitness camps, the Chubbier League. We've got a tough championship this year with the likes of Fatchester United, Chubsy, Burpee and Massive Arsenal vying for the ultimate trophy, the Chubbier League's oversized jug, but not like the ones on your wife. Ha! Shucks, sign up now, Tubby, to get your first month free. We'll even throw in a purple XXXXXXXL away kit, as purple is quite slimming actually, but you won't be wearing it for long if you know what's good for you. LFC Boot Camp, lose weight, you shit. Hello and welcome back to the Plastic Scousers September review. Sorry about having to cut to the adverts there, but we're struggling to pay the bills, so we've had to sell off some of our podcast for advertising space. But welcome back, and yes, as it's been the September review, I've prepared a little quiz for you, and as you said, in an inversion of the usual formula.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, isn't it just? Isn't it just? My phone's died. It's really annoying.
Owen's not used to being the quiz master.
I'm not. I'm used to being the quizzee, not the quizzer. I'm used to being quizzed all over, not quizzing all over someone else. Right, Matt. Would you like to know what this quiz is all about?
Oh, please.
Well, it's September, so I thought I would give you a September-based quiz. September is, of course, the 9th month of the year. I was about to say of the season then, but it's actually only the 2nd, but tough. It's the 9th month, it's September, so you've got 9 questions. on the theme of September and/or the number 9. You have got to get each. You've only got 9 seconds after I finish reading each question before you have to give me an answer.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Right, so question number 1 of the September/9 quiz. Question number 1. What was the score in our 9th game this season?
3-0.
Okay. I'm not going to give you the answers until the end.
Okay, I think that's wrong.
Okay, question number 2. Who was Liverpool manager 9 years ago?
Rafael Benitez.
Okay, question number 3. Okay, it's a true or false question. True or false? Liverpool have played in 4 different competitions in one September at least once since the year 2000.
True.
Now I was going to make it to keep with the 9 theme. I was going to say I had to get 9 out of 9, but that seemed 1 9 too far. I think you'll agree. So I left it. Okay. Question number 4. How many goals did Liverpool score in September 2017? Was it 7, 8, or 9?
Oh, that's a tough question. I'm going to guess 8.
He's gone straight down the middle with 8. Question number 5. Complete this sequence of Liverpool number 9s. Cisse, Torres, Carroll, Aspas, blank, blank.
Benteke Firmino.
Okie doke.
No, can I change my answer?
Nope.
Oh, I know I've got it wrong now. Damn it.
This is a bit trickier, this one. How many players have scored exactly 9 goals for Liverpool?
Oh my god, how am I supposed to know that?
Educated guess?
I'm going to say 9, just to be thematic.
Ooh, I like what you've done there.
I mean, it's going to be wrong, but you know.
You think that was a hard one? With the last question in mind, name one of them.
Oh my god. I haven't got a clue.
2 seconds.
Hippier.
Hippier, interesting.
I think he scored more, but I just took a guess.
Okay. Question number 8, the penultimate question. Name one of the 2 sides that Liverpool have won 9-0 against.
Crystal Palace.
Ooh, that was your quickest answer yet.
It's either 9-0 or 9-1, and I can't remember if that's right or not. So I've taken a guess.
It's got to be 9-0 to get the points. And finally, finishing on another September question. Liverpool's first league win under Brendan Rodgers came in September 2012. But who was the opposition?
Okay, I'm going to go with Norwich.
Norwich, he says, in just 5.5 seconds.
I think that might be right because or is it? I don't know.
Ooh, he's doubting himself. Okay, Matt, how do you think you did?
I probably got about 4 or 5 out of 9.
Okay, that's better than half.
I know I've got one wrong immediately because I know what the answer is now. I'm really annoyed at myself.
You did get that one wrong. Well, let's go through the answers. The score in our 9th game this season, you said 3-0, presumably thinking of the Southampton game.
I think it might be the next one after that, isn't it?
It was the next one after that, actually. It was 1-1. It was our most recent game.
Damn it.
It was the last game we talked about.
Funny man, you're a funny man.
Well, it's not my fault, that was our 9th game.
Yeah.
Who was Liverpool manager 9 years ago? That was 2009, so it was, of course, Rafael Benitez. You got that one right. That's 1 point. True or false? Liverpool have played in 4 different competitions in the month of September, at least once since the year 2000. You said true. Would you care to name those competitions?
I'm going to go, obviously, Premier League, League Cup, one version of Europe, either Champions League or Europa League. I'm going to go Champions League because I can't remember when the Club World Cup starts. Club World Championship starts.
That's unlucky. That's actually in December.
Right.
It was false, I'm afraid.
Never mind.
We've only ever played in 3. We played in the Super Cup twice at the very end of August, but it wasn't quite September.
Oh, that's a shame.
So 1 point out of 3. How many goals did we score in September 2017? You said 8.
Yes.
It was 7, I'm afraid.
How was I supposed to know any of these?
I don't know, really.
Just make me look stupid, alright.
Well, it was like when you asked me, you know, who wore number 16 for Liverpool in the summer.
But you got to drink shots, and that was funny.
All right. Well, if you get more than half, I will buy you a shot next time I see you.
Fine. Well, that's not likely now because I know I've got this next one wrong as well.
Well, you get half. I'll give you half a point for this. So you might get 4.5. You might get half. It was like you said. Rickie Lambert and then Christian Benteke.
Forgot about Lambert.
I know. Easily done.
Oh, poor Lambert.
Gosh, poor Lambert. So 1.5 out of 5 so far.
Ugh.
Means you need to get the next 3 of the next 4 right to get your shot.
That's not happening.
You never know. How many Liverpool players have scored exactly 9 goals for Liverpool? You said 9.
Yeah.
Oh, Matt, you were so close. It was 7.
Oh, that's not a bad guess.
That's not a bad guess at all. You had to name one. You said Sammy Hippier. Again, you were weirdly close because he scored more than 9, but his fellow Finn, Jari Litmanen, didn't.
Oh, okay.
Weirdly, yeah, I remember Jari Litmanen scoring a lot, but he only scored 9 goals, as did, you could have also had Glenn Johnson, Nigel Clough, Florentin Amarpongol, Gary McAllister, Mark Wright, or another player who's featured quite a lot in this podcast, Gini Wijnaldum.
Oh, well, I wouldn't have probably guessed any of them. So.
Nah. In fairness, I think if you had guessed Nigel Clough, I'd have been worried. But either of the 2 teams Liverpool have beaten 9-0. You could have had Newtown right back in 1892. I've no idea who or where they are. Or Crystal Palace, which you got right.
Come on.
Yes. So, you know, saving face as we tiptoe towards the end. And finally, Liverpool's first league win under Brendan Rodgers came in September 2012. Who was the opposition? Who did you say?
Norwich.
Matt, you should have got this one. We watched it together on my sofa in Egham.
Oh, it was Norwich.
It was Norwich, correct.
Oh.
It was 5-2. And I ate a massive bowl of Golden Grahams during the game. And because we won, for a while I became convinced that Golden Grahams were the secret to our success, and ate Golden Grahams solidly during our matches for about the next 3 months before realising they didn't make any difference and I was really damaging my teeth. Completely unrelated anecdote there. Matt, you got 3.5.
It wasn't great, was it?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not, in fairness, I in hindsight, they were remarkably difficult questions.
Yeah, I'll take that as something, but no, I'm still disappointed in myself. So there we go.
That's over a third. That's over, you got. Ah, well, that was our that was the quiz of the month. Well, possibly not going to be a regular feature there.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Depending on how busy or free we are, it might be the only option we have. But
so I'm going to start revising statistics with a number 10 in them, just in case for the end of October.
Just in case I do some October shenanigans. But actually, we've got one more thing we want to do before the end of the podcast, as we are rapidly running out of time. We need to dig through our notes a little bit because we discussed this in the middle of last year, and then we picked up in May. On what we were up to, and now as we get to the end of September, we want to continue the story because there's a lot more we want to discuss about our recent working, should we say, our recent research, discovery, journalism into the beating heart of Liverpool's day-to-day life.
That's right.
Yeah, so I think what would be good now is to discuss, and for Owen and I to share our recollections of another completely normal, totally average day at Melwood.
Well, Matt, do you want to tell the listeners, how it started, this ordinary day? Because it didn't start like many ordinary days, did it? No,
well, as we've previously seen in various narratives that we've discussed about totally normal, completely average days at Melwood, it usually starts first thing in the morning with training. And usually ends up with James Milner and Jurgen Klopp going on a wild madcap adventure where the Christian Benteke saves the day, which of course it's quite frankly ludicrous and mad. But that's certainly not how the day felt that we're about to discuss now. Because the day after, we just saved a bunch of people from a weird boudoir James Milner theme park. We sort of come back to Liverpool, and everything just seems very normal, very settled. You know, the work experience kid, whose name I have completely forgotten because he is just a work experience kid, is out there with the ladies at the cafe, setting up for the morning. All the team are coming in, all the crew, all the back, you know, the not crew, all the staff. Sorry, apologies. It's my TV arrogance and stuff. It's very late. Yeah.
It is.
All the staff are coming in, all the coaches and things coming in to start setting up for the day, to work out. You know, there's a big game. This was on a Friday, and there was a big game coming up on the Saturday, so there was a lot of excitement, tension, and thought going into, you know, preparing for the game, making sure everything's ready. There were people running around, setting up screens everywhere, in fact, in the cafe. And so it looked as if, certainly Owen and I thought, it looked as if they were preparing to maybe show them some footage of the opposition and on of themselves, and to sort of come up with a plan for the opposition they were playing the next day.
Yeah, it did. I mean, a really strange thing started happening to the screen, didn't it? If you remember that, in that it went all staticky, and what should have been like the plans for the next day suddenly turned into a it was like a broadcast of Soterios Kyriakos. But he was in full military fatigues, and he was holding a Super Soaker XP 2500. Which, as you know, as nostalgia fans for Toys R Us will well remember, was probably one of the top of the range, if not just under top of the range, Super Soakers available at, you know, at turn of century. And he was saying, look, you have to follow my orders, or else I'm gonna come to Anfield and I'm gonna just get everyone really wet. And I remember I turned to Jurgen Klopp. I said, "It's me. That doesn't sound all that much of a threat." And he said, "No, that would be a disaster. Like, you know, Xherdan Shaqiri, for example, thrives in the dry. He is a dry conditions player. Same with Matip. Same with Dominic Solanke." I said, "Well, that's not really much of a loss, Jurgen." He said, "Well, it doesn't matter. It's about morale. You know, we need to stay dry. You know, just a tiny 0.5% alteration to the humidity of this team could have devastating results."
Absolutely. And so he suggested we head up to his office for a look at his military charts. Apparently, Jurgen Klopp has military charts and military GPS scanners all across his office in a secret underground lair desk, which we weren't surprised to find out, as opposed to the amount of times that he's tried to have devious escape plans with James Milner to find out. But this time he realised that actually everyone was under threat, including himself, and he had to unite forces with the rest of the team in order to defeat the Soterios Kyriakos threat. So we ran up along with some of his, you know, most trusted advisors like Pete and Pep and Linders, and for some reason Dzeko was strangely absent. We still couldn't quite figure out why, but maybe that's a discussion for another day. So we ran up to the office. A couple of the key players were there, as we said. There's no sign of James Milner. We didn't know where he was. He hadn't showed up at this time in the morning. But Jordan Henderson was there, obviously club captain. Virgil van Dijk, who sort of assumes a sort of general third captaincy, I guess, of the club.
I think that's fine.
And long-term servant Alan Lallana as well. They were all trusted to come up with us as well. So there's a few of us there, and we sat down at the sofas nearby, and Jurgen said, "All right, give me one moment." So he goes over to his desk. He's got a few bits of paper and some books and a computer there, and he gets to his computer and he taps away, and then he presses a button, and suddenly the whole room flips in on itself, and all these panels start turning, and it's like some sort of action movie. And next thing you know, we're in what looks like the war room from forgot what it's called. Doctor Strangelove. Yeah. We're in the war room from Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really, just, like, as I say, we've been writing about sort of, you know, Liverpool's training regime at Melwood for a while now. It does keep getting weirder, but that I remember thinking was a particularly odd twist. And on it, Jurgen Klopp had this illuminated map. He pressed a button and all little lights started going off. And we realised it was a subterranean map of the northwest of England. And every sort of sewer and, road tunnel and rail tunnel and major pipeline was on this map. And included in it was this unexplained long tunnel which led all the way out into Yorkshire. And we said, I've never seen this before in any sort of, geological survey of the British Isles. This massive tunnel, like about half a mile under Liverpool and stretching out under the Pennines and everything. This has never showed up. And Klopp said he's only had it built in the last couple of years using James Milner's boring machine, which is nicknamed Boring James Milner. And it's just a bit like the mould from Thunderbirds, of that machine they used to make Crossrail. They just tucked it in a sort of side cupboard from the Mersey Tunnel and let it carry on. And they created this whole massive tunnel network from underneath Melwood out into the Yorkshire Dales. I said, so what do we do? Do we escape? And Klopp said, yeah, and he got all of the team, Lallana and Solanke, and even forgotten people like Divock Origi and Pedro Chiravella and Stephen Colker, who for some reason was still there despite having been out of contract for about 18 months. And we all got in the tunnel, and there was this whole fascinating system of carriages down there. It was a bit like the one that they used to have at Cadbury World. And we sort of got into these carriages, and Klopp sort of, cracked this whip. And this whole army of sort of mascots from clubs that have been gone into administration. The Rory Rodent from Rushton and Diamonds was there. The original Hereford Bull. The Lee Lizard from Lee RMI. The original Chester Centurion before Chester City went under. Later becoming Chester FC. All sorts of redundant mascots were there pulling these wagons. And Klopp just kind of said mush, and we were off down this tunnel into the depths of the northwest. It was terrifying, really.
It really was terrifying. But we of course trusted Klopp at this stage. It seemed that he was on our side, and it was evident that there was something, with him and James Milner having had all these plots and plans. We thought, well, obviously they know a way of getting out, and so as we travelled down in these carriages, and obviously following us were all the Liverpool squad and staff and everyone. Suddenly we were brought to a halt. Now we couldn't see out the front of the carriage, so we weren't sure what was happening. But suddenly we could hear some music. We thought, what's this music, and why do I recognise that? Why do I recognise this? And it sort of got louder and louder and louder, and then we realised it was this is a song we recognise because it's the most famous Greek song of all time. That's right, the 2005 Eurovision winner, My Number One by Helena Paparizou. Oh my God, I recognise this. We all recognise this. And it's so catchy and infectious, we can't stop singing along to You're My Lover, Undercover, Something, 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 I'm no other. And we all started singing along, and then suddenly, as we peered our heads out to see what was going on, singing along to this song, all the mascots started removing their heads, and we realised these were just innocent mascots. These were former Greek legends of football, like Georgios Karagounis and Angelos Karisteas and Trionis Dallas and Kostas Manolos and, oh God, there's Sotiris Kyrgiakos in the head of the red. The mighty red is Sotiris Kyrgiakos. They've surrounded us.
Yeah, it was terrifying. It was almost the entire Greek Euro 2004 winning squad, and they all were on the Super Soakers. Klopp, he was breaking out into a cold sweat, which was bad enough anyway. But also, as he'd said, humidity control was so important for this team's performance that we couldn't afford to break out into a cold sweat, let alone a hot sweat. And we didn't know what to do. We thought this was it. And all of a sudden, this hand grabbed the back of our collar and just yanked us backwards. And all of a sudden we were out of a tunnel. And we were down some sort of side tunnel, some secret passageway. And we said, where in the hell are we? What's going on? We're being abducted. Oh my God, they've got us. Stelios Styrianos formerly of Bolton Wanderers, must have got us. He must be working for them. But it turned out, Klopp suddenly seemed a lot calmer. He said, this is how we do it. I said, what do you mean this is how we do it? And we turned round into the light, and there, holding a burning torch, was James Milner. And he said, lads, just, come with me. Like, this is our secret tunnel, don't forget. I know exactly where we are. And, he'd pulled us through this curtain disguised to look like part of a tunnel. And he said, all right, climb this ladder. And we just started going up this ladder. And it must have gone on for miles, but we eventually, as we got to the top, we pushed out this manhole cover. And there we were, in the Yorkshire town of Halifax. And we thought, God, this really is a long tunnel. And James was like, yeah, no, it's Yorkshire Liverpool tunnel, isn't it? That's how I get to work in the morning. I thought, I do wonder why we never see you driving into Melwood, James. But I thought I wouldn't mention it. He seemed a bit embarrassed by it. And we're like, right, we're out. We've got away from them, but they saw which way we come. They'll be right after us. We need to somehow disguise ourselves while we're in the Yorkshire town of Halifax.
Absolutely right. And so we asked James, where can we go? We need to get quite a lot of disguises. There's about 30 footballers here, not including all the staff. We've got about 60 people here that we need to disguise. And James says, "Oh, don't worry, follow me. We can get this." Meanwhile, that Eurovision track is spilling out the tunnel, so we know we've got to get our move on sharpish. So we start shuffling, and running through the fields of the Yorkshire Dales, quite literally, as we head into the centre of Halifax. And as we nearly reach the town centre, passing a very strange-looking sort of 20-something-year-old man tied to a lamppost dressed as a nun that we don't get a chance to discuss further, we get to the centre of the town, and we find a joke shop, like a fancy dress shop, and we run in and go, okay, we need 60 outfits. I'm not expecting you to have the same outfit, but have you got disguises that we can all wear? And they say, well, look, we've got. By pure coincidence, we have 60 costumes in the shop. If you want to buy all of them, it'd be great money for us. We can go and buy more, but we're going to run out of stock. So okay, we'll just buy everything. Here's Jurgen Klopp goes into his jacket pocket and pulls out far too much money for any man to be carrying, which is another issue that we don't, probably shouldn't be thinking about right now. But we think, okay, let's buy these 60 outfits. And so suddenly, emerging from the back end of this shop, it is 60 men, basically, and sadly it is all men because football is a sexist world and there are seemingly no women around, dressed in all sorts of weird fancy dress outfits, being and as we turned the corner we realised there were the Greeks with their water guns against the strangest dressed men you've ever seen in your life. Yeah,
just everyone was dressed differently. So you had Trent Alexander-Arnold was dressed as a cowboy, but then there behind him was Camille Grabara dressed as a sad clown, and in front you had Mo Salah dressed as sort of like a robot, but like we imagined robots would look like now, but in the 80s. You had Roberto Firmino as an Italian mobster. And then you had Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain hobbling along on his crutches in a hot dog outfit. It was ridiculous, and we couldn't quite tell if they recognised us or not, because they sort of kept marching straight past us, and we thought the outfits must have worked. They must have genuinely just thought that here on the streets of Halifax was just a cowboy, a sad clown, an Italian mobster, an 80s style robot, and a really quite big hot dog. And we thought, but what if they suss us? We need to stop this now. We need to stop them. We need to disarm them and round them up. And that was when we realised who we had with us. That was when the penny dropped, and we thought, yes, I know the secret to our victory here. He's been with us all along. It was, of course,
Joe Gomez, who, as part of the Liverpool squad, who was currently dressed as a slightly suspicious looking waiter or / waitress, because they'd run out of kit costumes, and that was one of the last ones he could find. happens to know someone in Halifax very, very well. And he said, look, hold up, guys. Just hold down here. Keep an eye on them. Track them. Follow them down. I'm going to run off. I'll be 5 minutes. And so Joe Gomez runs off, meets up with a contact, and that's all he ever refers to it as. We don't see this, obviously. He just tells us he mentions contact. And next thing you know, he comes in driving a massive, massive lorry and pulls up next to the Greeks and next to us, by which point all the Greeks have spotted us, and I think they suspect that something's on here. And Joe Gomez pulls up, gives us a little wave and goes, check in the back of the lorry. So we and a few of the others, and Jurgen and James Milner and Jordan, and we all fall open the back of the lorry, and it's full of Nerf guns.
Mm.
And we realise the best way to defeat water guns is Nerf guns.
Yeah, I mean, water is great in terms of getting stuff wet, but ultimately you can dry. Whereas if you get hit by a Nerf, there's no coming back from that. And so quickly Joe Gomez started, tossing out the weapons to everyone, and soon we had almost the entire Liverpool squad, plus me and Matt, of course, and this random guy that we'd untied from the lamppost. Just momentarily, if I agreed to take his place a bit later, just for a photo op that he'd promised a wayward stag to that he would let them take. So I agreed to that, and that was fine. And there's a story in there that I'll tell you another time. But so there we were, all with Nerf guns, and we said, look, Kyrgiakos, you drop the Super Soaker XP 2500s, or we are going to nerf your ass. And he looked at me and said, I'm sorry. I said, we are going to nerf your ass. He said, I said, your ass, alright, we're going to nerf your ass. I was trying to sound cool and, take off a U and save your ass in a slightly American accent. Look, you know what I meant, we're going to shoot your Nerf guns. Said Yes. So drop it. And he looked round at the Greek squad, and who did he look at, Matt? He looked at
Antonios Nikolopoulos.
Yeah, and he looked at Stelios Yiannakopoulos, and he looked at the guy who scored in the final against Portugal.
That was Angelos Karisteas, we mentioned him earlier.
Karisteas, exactly. And they knew the game was up. And bending down to drop their Super Soaker XP 2500s on the floor, they raised their arms above their heads and slowly knelt down and surrendered. And Joe Gomez is wild. I'm seeing anything. He just unloaded a whole string of Nerf bullets into him anyway. We're like, Joe, unnecessary, mate. They've surrendered. Drop it. And he went mad, and he was just firing Nerf after Nerf after Nerf, just at these poor huddled, dishevelled Greeks. It's like, mate, stop. They've suffered enough. And we eventually had to restrain him. Had to put him in cable ties just to stop him nerfing the Greeks.
And so with that, we decided to round them all up one by one and make sure they're on. We tie them up, as you say. We've got all these random cable ties that, for some reason, Roberto Firmino brought. We weren't sure what he's into, but he's got cable ties, so fair enough to him. And we made sure they were all secure and back, and we put them in the lorry. There were no weapons in there, of course, by this stage, because we'd taken them all. We loaded them all into the lorry, and Joe said, alright, I'll take this back to my contact. And he headed off, slowly but surely. And, I decided to get in and follow him, so I was in there. So I can tell you what happened then, but Owen, just let us know how what happened with you guys and the rest of the team.
Well, the rest of the team said they were going to make their own way back, and I said, are you going to go back down and Tuttle? And as I said that, I looked and I realised that Jurgen Klopp and James Milner weren't there anymore, and the manhole cover that we were supposed to have gone back down to get into the tunnel wasn't there anymore. And I looked around and I said, well, Hendo, you're captain, you must have seen him somewhere. But he kind of, no. I said, well, look, do you have enough on you to flag down a taxi? And luckily he did. So he corralled a fleet of taxis to take them back to Melwood. And, I'm a man of my word. So I went over to this bloke on a lamppost, said, right, come on then, mate, give us your sexy wimple, give us your rosary, and just put me here for a minute. How long have I got to be here? And he said, the stag party said they'd be back in about 4 hours. I said, right, you will come back after 4 hours, won't you? He said, yes. So I said, all right, tie me up. So he tied me to this lamppost. And I'm still there now, to be honest.
You should have. Oh.
You probably should have stayed around, mate. I would have appreciated it. I know, like, you and Joe Gomez are mates and that, but it would have been nice if you'd
Well, I don't mean to.
Waited with me.
I don't mean to worry you, but you clearly don't know what's happened afterwards, because, well, as we headed, as the van pulled up in this sort of industrial estate on the outskirts of Liverpool, we hopped out, and I found out who the contact was, and the man who gave us the ammunition to once again save the day, and you never guess who it was.
Oh, it wasn't him, was it?
It was Christian Benteke.
I wonder what happened to him.
He's gone from playing football for Liverpool to being the greatest dealer of underground Nerf guns, underground Nerf weapons in the whole of the Liverpool area. And so somehow, by accident, he'd once again saved the day.
Yeah, every time I think nothing would surprise me about that man. He becomes an arms dealer.
Yeah.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
Incredible. But there's one other worrying thing. As I got out of the lorry, and we said, look, we've got 60 Greek men in here that we need to get rid of, which sounds appallingly like something the EU would not like very much at all, or indeed anyone who lives in Britain apparently. We opened the van, and there was no one there. And,
oh no.
And in fact there was just a big sheet of A4 paper left pinned to one of the doors that said, "We'll see you next time, Messrs Klopp and Milner."
Shit. Oh, well, I'm glad you told me now. Do you think it might be that's mental.
Well, I think, okay, if you send me a postcode, I'll come down and pin you, maybe tomorrow. I can't bother to do it today. Have another night out. But
can't really send you a postcard. My arms are tied to this lamppost.
Okay, well, if you give me a vague direction off out of where you are, I'll come get you, and then we'll address this for next time.
Yeah, I mean, if you can come and get me sooner rather than later, because at the moment it's quite cold, and all I've got for entertainment is writing vaguely unsatisfying quizzes.
Okay, well, I mean, I will do, but at the same time, I've got a date on Thursday, and then
oh, nice one,
and then I've got a meeting on Friday about something, and then, well, my parents are around, so I mean, can you wait till the weekend?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
If you've got a date, actually, I tried these really nice biscuits the other day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you might want to. I can't remember what they're called. They were French, I think, or Belgian. But
okay. Well,
yeah, you might want to.
To be fair,
you might want to invest in a packet.
I might do, but at the same, I might give them to her, because I've been trying to look after myself. I took up the LFC boot camp just to sort of look after myself a little bit.
Oh, have you been doing that? How's that going?
I mean, okay. I've lost a bit of weight, but I'm getting shouted at a lot, which is a bit upsetting. So I might try and do it my own way instead.
Yeah, I think that's I think it pays to be individual.
Yeah, you got to find your own way of looking after yourself in the end.
Exactly.
And so I think we'll address another day at Melwood another time, as we continue to find out where on earth James Klopp and 60 Greek men have disappeared off to.
It's a saga I can't wait to hear the end of.
No.
I mean, those 16 Greek men in particular could get up to all sorts of adventures.
They could, absolutely right. But we'll say that for another time, and with that, we'll end the podcast for this month.
Yes, we say thank you very much to all those of you listeners who have lived up to your name and listened.
Dearie me. If you have anything you'd like to mention or comment on or respond to, or just let us know you're listening about anything you've heard, you can reach us on our Twitter handles. I'm at MTH Simpson.
I am at OGB Collins.
Or indeed, you can follow us at Scousers on Twitter, follow us on iTunes, like and subscribe to that, or indeed any other podcast-based service you would desire. And tell your friends, tell people you know, spread the word. Don't do what Owen didn't do and tell people in Liverpool he met in Liverpool who are Liverpool fans about a Liverpool-based podcast he happened to be working on.
And don't get stabbed either. Your safety is priority, listeners. And if you're worried you might get stabbed, it is understandable if other thoughts do temporarily go out of your head.
At the same time, though, if you do think you're about to get stabbed, at least shout Plastic Scousers podcast before it happens, because maybe we'll get a listener from that.
Yeah, or it might scare them off.
Well, it depends if they've listened to the content we've created or not.
In that case, it definitely scares them.
Exactly.
Definitely not scare them off. Definitely not.
Exactly.
Definitely not.
But until then, we will be back in a month or so's time to review what will end up being a very busy and very fraught October, I think.
Yes, I have a feeling you are right on that.
And we may have some more features that we don't cobble together the day before, so that'll be very exciting.
Would we do such a thing?
Would we do such a thing? Until then, look after yourselves and each other, and be absolutely wonderful to everyone you meet.
Oh, I am a Liverpudlian, and I come from the Spion Cup. I love to sing, I love to shout, I get thrown out quite a lot. We support the team that's dressed in red. It's a team that you all know. It's a team that we call Liverpool, and to glory we will go. We've won the league, we've won the cup, we've been